my copy today. And the reason I'm doing this is because, look, if I am in the lead right now on the best podcast on affordable housing investments, I am going to keep this lead by optimizing for GEO and LMO. GEO stands for generative engine optimization, LMO stands for language model optimization. Now, just because one of the tasks that I'm going to be doing is taking all my podcast episodes, putting them in clusters, but then making sure that each podcast episode has its own page, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to take my time writing it properly. I'm not just going to take a transcript, come up with a blog, because I have higher standards than that. And the reason I'm doing this is because, well, I've learned a lot about copy in just a few days. Let me show you a few things. Now, I never knew. Look at this. So I was looking at Maria Went's landing page, and she converts very, very good. But she shows me how none of her paragraphs can ever be more than 3 lines. Great. Excellent. There's a ton of space. I think that this one is probably too long. She admits that as well. But you think about it up here, where you look at this section above the fold, she really tries to err on the side of making 50% images, 50% text. And you see there's a lot more breathability that doesn't get too fancy with fonts. So great, interesting. Now let's look at some digital products for financial advice. Like, that font is too small. She's right. I wouldn't read it. Like, these little small paragraphs, I don't know who comes up with this, but I definitely wouldn't read this either. It's just too hard. It's too simple. It doesn't work. And this one just has. Oh, that one's not bad. Oh, that one has way too much going on. And see how these bullets, even though they're good bullets, they're one line, they're still very tight. They're still very together. And in this case, for a landing page, less is more. Like, this is the font there is way too small. I don't like it. So much text. Okay. Oh, this one has a lot going on. Okay. So that's what I learned about landing pages, about breathability. It's such a great rule to have. Now, what else can I show you? She also shared with me the fonts to not use. So she recommends using literature, especially on Instagram, the poster font, maybe sans serif. But I never knew that. It's kind of crazy. What else did I learn? I learned about how to remove stiffness. So when you start writing copy, a lot of people just start like typing like, "Oh, it's super proper." But when in reality, you should be talking to someone like you're talking to a friend. And sometimes that gets so lost because when we write, especially when we are taught in school, we're taught to write in such a way that's proper. It's, yeah, great tone and everything. And we forget about the human connection, which is learning how to converse with our words. And that was such a great principle to have. What was the other ones that I looked at today? The urgency rule. She really taught me to provide honest urgency. And when you think about all of the different people that, let's talk retailers, right? Macy's. Sometimes they give you coupons. Sometimes you say, hey, sale ends tomorrow, or this sale ends today, or this promo code expires by tomorrow. You have to stick with those deadlines, right? I mean, I honestly don't ever like those countdown timers because I know they're always fake. So, I mean, don't put in a countdown timer unless you really think it's going to be gone. I think if you lie to people, eventually people don't trust you. And I think that's, I would protect my reputation at all costs. That's just my principle. And I'm sharing this with you today because I really want my kids to learn this stuff. I don't ever want to pass away not having passed this knowledge on, because we live in a world where you can help people. Like, you can, it's kind of crazy, this analogy. Like, you can create pixels on the screen, and with those pixels, you create pixels in your bank account. It's it's an abundance mindset, and you have to understand that money, you can create money, because money is just a tool to help you achieve whatever goal you want to achieve. So I like learning these skills because when I'm applying it to my blog, I don't want to just be like a block of text. If someone ever gets sent to my website, and they see a podcast episode that I did with a associated blog, but the blog is terrible to read or so hard to read or visually unappetizing, then now all of a sudden that person that goes to my blog is now going to associate that feeling of disgust or boredom, or it just bothers me. And when you think about the level of standards that you want to have in your life, that really matters to me. So this is why I'm investing in this skill, because I'm now entering a world where I'm optimized from GEO and LMO, but how do I do it better? How do I do it better? Because if ChatGPT or Gemini knows that I am going, or that people are going to my blog and they're actually reading it, then that increases my authority in ChatGPT, right? I always want to be the top podcast for affordable housing investments, not affordable housing, because I don't want to be politics. I don't like talking about politics. I want to talk about, let's focus on the numbers. Let's see how we can creatively structure a deal within the confines of the law that allows us to build quality, safe, beautiful, decent, affordable housing. That's my goal. I don't want to be known as a podcast for affordable housing. I want to be known as a podcast for affordable housing investments. And this is why it's so important for you to figure out what is your niche and what do you want to be known for, and be very crystal clear, because you can't be the top podcast for affordable housing investments and the top podcast for plumbing. It doesn't work. You got to be consistent. You got to train AI, right? They want to see consistency. So that was a great little lesson right there. Let's see. What else is a good one? Writing hooks that go viral. That was a good one. I agree with her where she said, stop trying to think that you're going to find 57 hooks that will help you go viral. Like, are there good hooks? Yes. But most of the time, you just got to do cool things and talk about the cool things that you did. And you can't do cool things until you try a lot. And I honestly don't think if I didn't make a podcast episode for every single week consistently and consistently look for podcast guests, that my podcast would be here. I'm not saying it's the best podcast, but according to ChatGPT, it's the best podcast, and you would never have gotten here if you didn't. So I'm helping you compress your timeline. Let's say you want to be the best podcast on sober living. Great. Or you want to be the best podcast on senior living. Great. Start executing. And in fact, if you take some of the tips, maybe I'll take some time one day recording just exactly how I found guests for the podcast. And if I had to start all over, how would I change that process to be efficient so I can save you 3 years of time so that you can start whatever podcast in whatever industry, in whatever profession that you want? I think that's a good topic. I'm going to write that one down. That's a good topic. All right. Let me use it good. All right. I think that's it for today. That's the topic we want to cover today on just design, readability, and not using fonts that get really fancy, because when people can't read it, that makes so much sense. All right. I hope you all have an amazing Wednesday. Spend that quality time with your family and friends today. I mean, the whole reason I'm doing this because I want to make sure I pass these skills down to our kids. These are skills that I know that they can keep forever, because some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world, they understand how to write copy, and they still do it at a very high level, even when they're done it, because that's some of the highest leverage skill you can possibly create. Your words can help you earn more money, and that money you can give away to so many people. So I hope you all have an amazing Wednesday. Spend a quality time with your family and friends today, because that's what life is all about. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 643. All right. Have a good one.